All righty. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our book study. I'm Michelle Stuchel, and we are finishing the 12-week year. And we have been doing this for a lot of weeks. And I really, really hope that you have not just been keeping up with this book, but you have been digesting and applying what we have been learning. Because if you do so, it really has the power to not only change your business, but to change your life. And isn't that the definition of wisdom anyway? You know, the Bible says knowledge can puff up, but wisdom is applied knowledge, knowing what to do at the right time. And this book is your guidepost to doing so. So we've got a lot of material to cover, so buckle your seatbelts, and I'm going to start right away with chapter 19 on 12-week commitments. Okay, so they talk about the definition of commitment, which is the state of being bound emotionally or intellectually to a course of action or to another person or persons. It's a conscious decision to take specific actions to get a desired result, okay? I love this statement. I was like hollering with myself. I know you find that very, very hard to believe, but I was. And it said, commitment is accountability projected into the future. You decide beforehand that you will do whatever it takes to reach your goal. And the more accountable you are, the more likely you will meet your commitment. And you know what I really thought about a lot during this chapter? Raise your hand if you thought about your marriage during this chapter. I did. You know, in Christian circles, we talk a lot about covenant in marriage, right? Well, I thought about marriage, the commitment. I mean, we don't even know what the D word is. We are committed. We made a commitment to ourselves and a commitment to God and a commitment to my spouse, that we would do whatever it takes to be successful and have a great marriage, right? And I love that. Okay. So one of the things he talks about, there's two kinds of commitments. He talked about the commitment that you keep to yourself and then the commitments that you keep to other people. But before we get into those two different kinds of commitment, he talked about why we have issues with keeping commitments. And I thought this was, so interesting. Okay. And do you remember the analogy he used? Most of our commitments are like the top part of an iceberg. You see the top, you see diamond. Yes, I'm going to be a diamond. Yes, I'm going to make as much as a brain surgeon. Yes, I'm going to wear that bikini this summer. Yes, I'm going to fill in the blank. But what you don't see is what's underneath the waterline. The rest of that big honking iceberg, right? And what this iceberg is your intentions and your desires. And that is why when our desires and intentions are not aligned, we fail to keep our commitments. I want to fit into that bikini. That cupcake from Wicked Bakery is divine, and I want to feel good right now, and this is going to bring me comfort. So I've got two intentions there, right? I want to fit into a bikini. I want pleasure eating my chocolate. They are not aligned. Which one's going to win out? Stay tuned. When they are not aligned, we are easily failed to keep the commitment, right? Okay, so that is what we have to deal with, which is why it's so important. Here's a kicker. The hidden intentions keep us from keeping the commitments. Now think about this. We do a lot. Another word for intentions is, for our business, objections. Think about this. If you replace what he talks about, what's underneath the waterline, you know, your hidden intention, think about this, your hidden objections. And it puts your business in a whole different framework. When you start getting to the why of why you're not taking action. Okay, I want to rank up this month, but you're not in activity and you're not reaching out to people. You're above the iceberg, above the water line is you want to rank up, but what's below the water line is the objection of you actually think the products cost too much money. You haven't dealt with that intention or objection. So in order to move forward, you have to deal with your objections. You have to deal with your intentions so that those things can align and you can move forward, okay? Successful commitment occurs when your stated intentions are stronger than your hidden intentions, and you can consciously reconcile the conflict. What does that mean in our business? You gotta have a strong why. You have to have a reason to keep going. Yeah, I really don't feel like sending out messages right now. I'd rather just watch this thing on Netflix below the waterline. But above the waterline is, I know what this is going to do for my family. We want to have financial freedom, so I'm going to get off my duff and do my work, right? So he talks about the 4 keys to successful commitment. 1, the strong desire, which is your why. Stay connected to your why, and Charity's going to talk about that. 2, your keystone actions. What are the most important actions we've talked about throughout this study that will get you to your goal? Number 3, counting the cost, which in my own personal esteem may be the most overlooked and important step. And number 4, acting on the commitments, not your feelings. Okay, maybe that is just as important. Let's talk about counting the cost. You know, Jesus himself talked about this. He said, which one of you is going to start building a house? Look, Brittany and Anthony are building a house. Haley and her husband are building a house. Do you think they started building a house without knowing they had enough money to finish? Did they start framing without knowing they had enough wood to finish the framing? No, you've got to know how much it costs, what material you need in order to complete the task. In order for us to move forward and successfully keep our commitments, we've got to count the cost. Am I willing to forego that amazing cupcake to get into the bikini? Am I willing to count the cost? Am I willing to count the cost of a TV show, which will do really nothing for me eternally, in order to make progress to my goal? Am I willing to get up an hour earlier to exercise and work out or to send messages so I can move forward in my business? Count the cost, okay? So important. And then acting on your commitments, not your feelings. Okay, talks about commitment to yourself is so, so important. And we'll talk about this in discussion. The more you keep commitments to yourself, the more it not only enables you to keep commitments in the future with yourself, but it also fuels you to keep greater commitments. It's a feedback loop of positive reinforcement. And then as you keep commitments to yourself, you're able to keep commitments to others. And I thought this was so profound. He said, most relational pain comes as a result of broken promises, either explicit or implicit. Explicit promises are your stated word, while your implicit promises are inferred. And so what's key here is that in order to keep commitments to other people, you have a strong desire to keep your word. Again, count the cost. Again, act on your promises. In a nutshell, the tips for both keeping commitments to yourself and to others is integrity and character. This requires you to align your thinking with a few core beliefs. And we need to train ourselves to think about long-term benefits versus the short-term inconvenience and discomfort, delayed gratification. I loved this. This was bombshell, right? Delayed gratification is the quickest way to get to your goals. Commitment mindset is to choose pleasurable results over pleasurable actions right now. Let me say that again. Commitment. Okay, where was it? I have it in my notes. It is delayed gratification is the straight line to your goal. Commitment mindset is to choose pleasurable results over pleasurable activity. Okay. The results that you want versus what's going to make you happy now. Okay. Common pitfalls. We miss a commitment and we give up. Remember, falling is not failing. Failing is not keep going. You fail to confront missed commitments. Dig into your why. What are those objections or intentions under the waterline so that you can deal with them? If you don't, you will continue to bump up against it, right? And you don't value your word. I mean, look, God himself said the power of life and death is in the tongue. Those that love it will eat its fruit. So if you don't value your word, you don't value, your word is everything, right? And he talks about the tips. Do not overcommit, which aligns exactly what they said. What are the couple actions you need to take to reach your 12-week goal to move you close to your 3-year vision, right? Go over your commitments and buddy up. Have accountability. Because when you buddy up, when you go public with your commitments and when you don't overcommit, you're going to be able to move forward in a way that is doable. It stretches you, but it will keep you on the straight and narrow path so that you can crush that 12-year goal. And now Charity is going to crush the rest of the book.
Okay, so when I found out that I was following Michelle, yeah, I knew I had to step up my game just a little bit. I mean, how do you follow that? So I'm gonna try. Y'all bear with me. A lot of y'all know that I am also a teacher, and while the school year is winding down for our students, for teachers, it's really not, because we are having to evaluate everything that we've done throughout the school year. So it's been a little crazy, but I really felt when I was preparing for this that it goes right alongside with the 12-week year. If you're a teacher, you know that our year is divided into 9-week segments. So I do a lot of mentoring in our school system. And when I do, I meet with new teachers and try to help them get prepared for the school year. And in the beginning, it is always very, very overwhelming. You know, these teachers are brand new. They don't really know where to start. All they see is, I've got to do what all school year? And it can be a daunting task. So what do? You help them break it down into manageable steps. So the first thing I always do is, okay, what do you need to teach your kids this 9 weeks? What are your standards? What are your goals? And so this is really the same thing. When we apply the 12-week year, in the beginning, it's going to be uncomfortable because change is uncomfortable. I liken it to, you know, if you're a mom and you're giving birth, while it is exciting, when I first found out that I was pregnant with actually both of my boys, I was thrilled. I was excited. But at the same time, I felt like I had just strapped myself into a roller coaster that I couldn't get off. And if you know me, then you know that I am terrified of heights. I don't like going up that hill. And, you know, when you're pregnant, it's like you are click, 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 clicking up that first hill that is always the biggest on any roller coaster. And you've got to do something. It's too late now, and you've got to get this child out of you somehow, but you have this awesome end goal in mind. You're going to deliver this baby that you can take home, that you can love on, that will hopefully look somewhat like you, since you carried it for 9 months. But it is, your business is the same thing. It's like giving birth. You are going to be uncomfortable, and it's okay to be scared of all the unknowns. But in the end, you have this beautiful promise that you will eventually obtain. So your vision is going to provide you with that line of sight to help you overcome your challenges, the click, 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 and to execute. So I am also working on my PhD. I'm so close to being finished. All I really need to do right now is analyze my results and turn it in and then defend. And I didn't start my PhD thinking, okay, tomorrow I'm going to defend my proposal. I'm going to defend my dissertation. No, I broke it down into steps, and those steps were courses, and it's all about perseverance. It really has nothing to do with, and we have several other doctors on this call, and they will probably tell you the same thing. It's really not about whether or not you are smart enough. I mean, if you're thinking about getting a doctorate, well, I mean, you have to have some type of intelligence, but it really is about whether or not you're going to persevere, because you're going to get, I've taught literature for 17 years, APA, MLA format, all of that. And I've had my writing sent back to me and told me, I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, are you really? But I teach this. Like, how do I not know what I'm doing? So if I was thinking about it in terms of comfort, well, I would have quit a long time ago. But my why is so big that I'm too far in now. There's no way I'm quitting. And that's what your why in your business needs to be. It needs to be so big that those barriers that you're going to run into, those pitfalls that you're going to hit, don't matter. Because let's face it, life happens. We all have life. We all have things that feel like it's designed to kill us or to end us or to do whatever. But if your why is big enough, you're going to say, okay, that happened, but I'm going to keep moving on. I'm going to keep going. So motivation should be a big factor in your success. Pitfalls occur when you don't take the vision or the power of your vision seriously. So if you're just doing this as a hobby, it's going to be really easy for you to just walk away from it if something happens. Let's say you hit the rank that you thought you needed to hit to do whatever, and then suddenly half of your team walks away. What are you going to do? If your why is big enough, then you'll go back and you will find more runners. Then you will create more people. You will keep on no matter what, no matter when, you have those months where maybe you've only recruited one person, or maybe you didn't recruit anybody. If your why is big enough, you're gonna keep going. If your vision is big enough and you're taking that vision seriously, you're gonna keep going. So like I said, motivation is a big factor in success. I really liked, say, given a choice, people will choose immediate and certain short-term comfort over potential long-term benefits, unless there is a compelling reason. So that's your why. If your reason is compelling enough, then you'll keep going. So you should define your vision into two goals. And we've been talking about this the entire book study. You should have a long-term goal. So what is your big why? And then you should have a smaller goal that is focused on short term, outlining exactly what you need to accomplish over the next 12 weeks. And then you should review your vision daily. So when I was in high school, I was on the swim team. And it's really funny because Christina was talking about sports analogies in our Ruby call. And I was like, I already had this in my notes. But when I was in high school, I was on the swim team. I grew up in Panama City, so it's what you do. But I was not the best swimmer on the team. I was B team on a good day, maybe C team. But I can remember the first time my coach told me that I was going to swim the 400 medley in a race by myself. I was the 50 free girl. I was the girl that closed the relays with the 50 free. I could sprint all day, but I was not built for endurance. Still not built for endurance. Oh, physically. But anyway, one of the moms was talking to me and she was like, listen, Charity, if you can just visualize it, you can do it. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I decided to take her up on it. And I spent every day after practice 10-15 minutes, and I just visualized myself swimming that 400 medley. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it is all 4 strokes. So the breaststroke, the backstroke, the butterfly, which I was horrible at and super uncoordinated. And I had never, and then the freestyle. I had never done all 4 of those in a race. I had never even done it in practice. And so I spent that 10, 15 minutes every day just visualizing myself doing it. I could see myself going down the pool and then flip turning and coming back and then doing it and then doing it and then doing it and doing it until I was done. And on the day of the race, I did it. Now, they had to pull me out of the pool when I was done because my body had completely given out, but I had done it. And it really, at that moment, I realized how powerful, somebody just said it, how powerful our minds really are. I visualized it, I was able to do it. So every goal needs actionable series of steps that you can follow throughout your 12-week time frame. The benefits of your planning diminish rapidly if you pursue and plan with more than one big goal. You need to make them small enough that you can obtain them. So set aside time every week to look back on what has been accomplished and what still needs to be done. And by doing that, it allows you to make adjustments if you need to. Due to the condensed time frame, if reviews are conducted less than once a week, you may not have enough time to accomplish or to do the changes that you might require to accomplish your goals. If your goals are too ambitious, you are more unlikely to not meet them. So, I mean, it's great to come into your business and say, one day I'm going to be diamond. I mean, I believe that one day I'm going to be diamond, but I'm not going to be diamond next week. I'm not senior ruby next week. You know, let's start somewhere. Let's start maybe in 12 weeks. You know, if you're not even silver yet, maybe in 12 weeks you can be silver, and then you can help one of your new people go silver. That's more obtainable. It's a smart bet to set smaller, easier, or easily obtainable goals for the first couple of sprints, gradually increasing your ambition level of the goals each time. So at the end of every school year, and I know I'm not the only one that does this, and I'm sure all you moms out there do this too, you clean out all your closets, because that's the time to get rid of all the clothes that didn't fit your kids, you know, whenever, or maybe, you know, I do that for my clothes. I clean out my pantries, I do all of that. But if I decided my first day home from the school year that that's what I was going to do, I was going to get them all done in one day, guess what? I'm going to find every excuse in the book to not do it. I'm going to be like, listen, I had a really hard school year this year. I deserve to sit in my bed and watch Netflix. I deserve to watch one show, and then one show becomes another show, and then another show, and then another show. But if I started with, okay, first week home, I'm going to tackle my closet. Second week, I'm going to help my boys do their closet. Third week, we're going to do the pantry. That's going to be more likely to get accomplished. Those goals are going to be more likely to get done. And I'm going to feel accomplishment each time I do one of those things, which will motivate me to do the next thing. So doing this gives you the chance to get used to the shorter time frame, and it gives insight into what you can reasonably accomplish within those 12 weeks. You don't get overwhelmed with too much. So at the end of every 12-week period, you should be doing a large in-depth review, where you take a deep dive look into what went right, what went wrong, and what improvements you can make in your next sprint. Although the weekly reviews are important, they lack the perspective that a final review has. And the end of one sprint brings the beginning of another, and people often get caught up in that planning phase, and they ignore the sprint ending review. If you want to do things, well, you will have to do things differently if you want different things. As long as you see the solution to your greatness as being outside of you, you will remain powerless to change. I loved how he talked about, you know, the victim mindset. Oftentimes we get caught up in, well, the circumstances weren't right. This happened, and that's why my business didn't thrive. When in reality, we all have a choice. We can all do things. I shared last night, I think it was last night, on Instagram, Facebook, all social media, this quote that I found, and it really spoke to me. And I hope that it speaks to some of you guys, but it says, everything in your life is a reflection of a choice that you have made. If you want a different result, then make a different choice. So it really is that easy. Often we get caught up in putting the blame on somewhere else, when in reality, all we have to do is make a different choice. So I hope that this helps you guys. I have really enjoyed this book, and I hope that you all have as well. And so I think it's time now to go to our breakouts. Is that right? All righty. So,
Charity, that was the perfect segue into our very next book study.
oh, good. Yay. I
Success
haven't gotten
is
my
a
book
choice.
yet, but
So good. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Michelle and Charity, for sharing your wisdom and insight. All right. So if April is your nearest diamond, you go on her Zoom. If Christina is your nearest diamond, you go on her Zoom. If I'm your nearest diamond, you hang out right here.
All righty, we seem a little stable now. Okay, I think we're stable. Okay, lots of questions for you all. Let's talk about the chapter on commitment. I thought this was so powerful. You can tell I got a little fiery. Surprise, surprise, surprise. As we talk about, let's talk about that iceberg. What do you all see? Did that analogy resonate with you? And if so, how are you going to reconcile and align the top half of the iceberg with the bottom half of the iceberg? Is that clear? Do you guys know what I mean when I say that? Your stated objections, what you want, and your objections or excuses. Objections or excuses are what's below the waterline, but this is what you're saying you want. It's all one iceberg, so there's some cognitive dissonance here, but you're saying you want to get 3 joins, but you're not doing a ding-dong thing to reach out to people. You're saying you want to get into the bikini and lose 20 pounds, but you're eating at McDonald's 5 times a week. So there's hidden intentions there. So thinking about our business, first of all, could you relate to that analogy? Because his whole point was, one of the reasons we don't keep commitments is because we've got these split intentions or objections or excuses. So it's important to have that strong vision, have the strong desire, count the cost, and put it into action. Did that resonate with you? And how are you going to make these things align and move forward?
I think you have to be completely honest with yourself and have that self-awareness of what exactly are your excuses, and know, like for me, this 12 weeks has been avoidance. And that's, not going and looking in my back office because I really didn't want to come to terms with it. And so I really battled avoidance or not following up with my people because I was afraid to hear they're falling off, but just coming to terms and the reality of what you really are doing and what your excuses are.
So what are you doing to align that? Like, now that you know that they're there, what are you going to do to move forward?
Yeah, so being proactive about what I was avoiding and just making myself do it. So I've been waking up at 6 a.m. to do my IPA and to start exercising. And I just had to come to terms with it and say, listen, if I want to hit my next rank, I've got to do the hard things, obviously, because I'm spinning my wheels and I'm going around in circles. So yeah, I have to be proactive about it, and I've got to learn the skill sets that it's going to take to get me where I want to be.
That's fantastic. So when you decided, let me just drill down with you, Kayleen, a little bit. You decided, how did you come to that conclusion to get up at 6?
This book study of figuring out when my most productive time slot is. And so just trying different things to see, what's working, what's not. And the interruptions were just really prevalent outside of my 6 to 7 o'clock time frame. So So just working and trying new things and then realizing what's going to work for me.
Okay, so when you thought about initially getting up at 6, what went through your mind?
Well, I did not want to do it, but my why was big enough. You know, I was tired of being stuck where I was at. And so I have to get out of my comfort zone. And I thought that was so good what you shared. And that quote,